All right, guys, bang, bang. Coming to you live from the new Off the Chain studio. Not really. We just moved the office around. But I'm here with Natalie. Thanks so much for coming to do this.
Sure. Thank you so much for inviting me.
You got your Proppy shirt on, ready to go.
Absolutely. I love your new office.
ABC, always be closing. I like it. All right, let's jump right in. You are not from the United States, and you've got an awesome story. So you were born in Russia,
Yeah.
right? And then eventually ended up in Bulgaria. Kind of tell us how.
Yeah.
What were you doing in Russia and then in Bulgaria?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was studying software engineering in Russia, and at the age of 19, I moved to Bulgaria, established my first engineering company. That's how my entrepreneurial career started. And for 15 years, I was building and constructing real estate in Bulgaria. And then I thought, well, actually, I want again to build software. And so knowing all the problems I've experienced in real estate, I relocated myself to the US 4 years ago. And this is how the story of Proppy started.
All right, let's talk about school in Russia.
Okay.
What is that like? I'm assuming it's like school in most other countries.
Absolutely.
But I think in America, we have this vision of like Russian kids going to school and sitting there from 5 a.m. to like 10 p.m. and just being told, learn.
Yeah, learn how to code and spy on the U.S., right?
Yeah. How? You can't say that joke. That's not allowed.
Yeah.
All the Americans are now turning off the podcast. Wait, but no, what is that like?
Actually, it's a great point that recently we had one account at Proppy that we didn't pass the background check with them because of my Russian background. They were very resistant to give data to a Russian-founded company.
Crazy.
But, yeah.
All right. So what's school like in Russia as you study computer science?
So it's an international university of nature and computer science close to Moscow. And the beauty of this university is that the first 2 years you have to learn many subjects, including software engineering, even if your major, like mine, was environmental scientist. And then the others were lawyers, economists. They had to learn how to code.
Oh, everyone learns.
Yeah, the first 2 years, everyone had to learn how to code. And I just loved it. That was my first experience with a computer. Before that, I never touched the computer, even though I had a dream to do it. But this led me to actually transition from the environmental studies to coding engineering department. And I used to help all of the those artistic majors to code and do their work the first year. Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. So you learn how to code and you pretty much know, hey, I'm going to go do this instead of the environmental work. Why go to Bulgaria?
Our university was international.
Okay,
and
you're putting that in air quotes. Why are you putting that in air quotes?
Because the only international students we had was from other post-communist country, which was Bulgarian group. And so, I met my now ex-husband in the university. I relocated myself to Bulgaria. And so this is how I ended up in Bulgaria.
So most people know that I'm fond of Bulgaria now that Polina is in my life. And I've been to Bulgaria numerous times. Where in the country were you? In Sofia?
I used to live in Sofia, in Plovdiv, on the sea coast. Right now, our engineering team sits in Sofia, but before that, I was constructing resorts on the sea coast, so it was a lot of fun.
It's nice there.
Yeah, it is beautiful. You know that.
Yeah. So what is that like? Like how do you go from software development to building resorts?
Yeah. So my first company was in a small garage, and I was coding simple applications, primarily web applications for small businesses and some real estate developers. And then Bulgaria, as you know, it's a new European Union country. They announced that they will join the European Union. So suddenly those British investors were coming to Bulgaria to acquire properties and build. And I was looking at the couple first buildings appearing on the seacoast, and I thought, okay, it looks like it's a very capital intense and lucrative business. So I went to UK, I went to Russia, Latvia, talked to potential customers, figure out what they want, and told to my engineers, okay, now we're gonna acquire land, do awesome renderings of future buildings and sell them cross borders. So this is what made me to transition our engineering team to construction.
You took the engineers that you had, and you would buy land, then you would have the engineers create building renderings, just drawings of them, basically.
And they were the most beautiful, sophisticated renderings. And people were buying those real estate pieces cross borders without coming and seeing even the site. So the site was empty.
So you would sell the land, or you would sell them on investing to build the property, like to build out the building?
I would sell condos. So it's a resort full of condos with like spas, restaurants, and so on. So they would buy a future unit that I would build.
And then you would build it.
Yeah, and I would build it within 1 or 2 years. And normally they would be all very happy with execution, that everything is just like it was projected and designed for the pictures. But everything was tech driven. Like we had our own CRM system. We had programmers to make sure we're having the tracking system of our customers. And that was 2005.
Yeah. And so one of the theories I have is that Bulgarian real estate is going to make a resurgence. You agree?
Well, the reason I decided to relocate myself from Bulgaria is actually my company was able to drive all that interest to Bulgaria from Russia, Latvia. So UK was interested there anyway. You know, they love real estate globally. But then 2009 and 10, the interest started to decline. So there is no more such an interest from foreign investors. Not only because there is a decline of those international home buyers, but also the economic situation, the political is really depressing there. So yeah, as soon as there is no such an influence from direct foreign investment, the local community also stopped investing in real estate, and it's very affordable. So yeah, I would agree that the real estate industry, they won't see any more.
Oh, you think they won't see any more interest?
No.
All right, here's my theory. Ready?
Tell me, yeah.
So before Instagram, nobody really knew about Iceland.
Yeah.
Right? And then all of a sudden, some people go and they take a picture in Iceland and they put it on Instagram and it's, oh my God, it looks so beautiful.
Yeah.
And now Iceland's popping off. Like everyone loves Iceland.
Yeah.
Right? And there's a bunch of these places around the world where that's happened. Bulgaria is a place that a lot of people don't know about. They couldn't find it on a map, et cetera.
Yeah.
But they have the sea, they've got the mountains, et cetera. At some point over the next 5 years, my guess is that people are going to quote unquote discover Bulgaria.
Yeah.
And then they're going to all start going there. And it's like this whole thing.
So this is what I did in 2005, 2010.
You did that 15 years ago.
Yeah, I actually opened the eyes of Russians, which is a huge population. Yep. I opened their eyes to Bulgaria. I invited TV shows there, reporters, influencers like yourself. So what might happen now...
I'm not a Russian influencer.
Yeah, but what may happen now is an American influencer will drive an American interest to Bulgaria, and maybe we'll see a new wave in Bulgaria to be discovered by Americans.
Yeah. I think it's going to happen.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Let's do that.
All right. So how much did a condo cost at one of these resorts?
Oh, it's super cheap, like $50,000.
$50,000 for a condo, and that was in 2005?
Right now, you can buy a property for $50,000 with 1 bedroom.
Okay. So now it's $50,000. Even then, it was even probably cheaper than
back then. For example, I could sell a property in 2007 for $30,000. Next year, it would be $90,000, so 3x.
Wow.
Yeah, we did that with my property.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Sounds like some crypto investments.
Absolutely. It was that hype of a market, and we were part of the creation of it because it's a beautiful country. It's really beautiful country with the seacoast, the mountains, the talent, the food, everything is natural, organic. Also, it could become, Sofia is becoming a technical hub. There are many talented
Google, there's a bunch of places there.
Uber, Hewlett Packard, and the engineers there are very talented and very disciplined.
And they work hard.
Yes, they do. They
don't complain like the people in America sometimes.
Absolutely, 24/7.
Yeah. All right. So how do you go from building the resorts to running a real estate technology company?
Yeah, so I've met many high net worth individuals acquiring properties in Bulgaria, Dubai, UK, and they all had this stress like, okay, I want to buy property in London and also I want to buy property in Silicon Valley, but the process is different and I'm not sure if I will be fooled. So we saw this pain and I got very, very excited like, hey, we have the opportunity here, a huge opportunity to automate the process and we know how to make it internationally. So this is how I came here for one real estate conference for the first time in America, made this visa. In those times it was easy. I came here and the American real estate community was very welcoming and saying, you have to do it here. So this is how I transitioned into the Proppy.
Got it. And then that's when you moved to the U.S. 4 years ago.
Yeah.
What was the first city you went to in America?
San Francisco.
What was your initial impression?
You would be surprised. It was very, very good. Somehow I missed all the homeless part and all the disasters. I don't know how, but for the first week, I kind of didn't see that. And I loved the city. I loved the community. Every single meeting I would go to in San Francisco or in the Bay Area, in the peninsula, all people are so welcoming to newcomers. They would ask, how can we help you? Can we make an introduction? You need to meet this person or that person. So that was a big changing environment for me because before that I considered to move to Dubai or Monaco or London.
Those are all horrible places. Very bad. What a list. London, Dubai, or Monaco. Oh my God.
Yeah.
All right. So
I had a hard time to decide.
Okay. So you choose San Francisco, right? And you knew that you were going to go try to solve this problem, but had you already started Proppy yet? Or, okay, you had already started
I just bought the Propy.com domain. So I knew that I want to build a global listing, something like Zillow, but global with an ability to acquire properties with a couple of clicks. Obviously, in order to make this process with a couple of clicks, I knew that I will need hundreds of millions of dollars to make it as a technological infrastructure. So we just started as an infrastructure, like a listing platform, very simple. And then I started to go around and meet many, many engineers who can solve cross-border payments, who can solve paperwork and process. And this is when I got to know blockchain.
Got it. And so when you first started, you didn't have any clue that blockchain or crypto would be a part of the business, but quickly figured that out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And so tell us, what exactly is Proppy doing today?
Yeah, Proppy today probably is the only solution that is dedicated to automate the entire home buying process, the closing process from the offer to recording. And the infrastructure level is powered by smart contracts, but on the front end, it's all easy to understand for the home buyer, step-by-step wizard, how to acquire property.
Got it. And does the same thing apply when you're selling those resort condos?
Yeah.
I don't have to go see the property.
Yeah.
Right? Back then they weren't looking at them. Today I don't need to see it because you guys are doing what? Like what information are you providing me on the platform? And are you guys doing like the due diligence for me to make sure that the property, it says it is what it says, or how does that work?
Well, actually, for now, our focus is a closing process, which means that you've made a decision. And we always recommend our customers to come and see the property. But there are many cases, like our first transactions were all made remotely with not even like seeing a property. So yeah, we're just focusing on the closing process. Even when I was constructing and selling properties in Bulgaria and they're cheap, many of our customers, like half of them, would not come and see the property, but we always like recommend them strongly to see what they're buying and then afterwards to make the closing.
Got it. And so today, if I find a property that I want to buy, do I need to have that property on Proppy? Like, does it already have to be listed?
No.
Or I can talk to the seller and say, hey, let's go ahead and actually finalize this transaction, go on Proppy, create an account, etc.
Yeah, that's correct. So you can find a property. You may have an agent and the seller has an agent. You tell to your agent or the seller, hey, I'm ready to close and I'd love to make it securely and faster. So let's use Proppy.
Got it. Where does crypto come in?
The crypto is coming on the smart contract level. So every single transaction step is powered by smart contracts. And our goal is to eliminate all the manual work. Right now, there are 20 participants in every deal, at least that's minimum, that has to do manual verification. And they input data manually again and again and again. So at the point when the transaction is going to a recording, there is a 20% rate of mistakes from manual work. So where smart contracts is coming. The mission is that we're doing e-recording and ownership transfer when software detects that the payment wire transfer is executed and the paperwork is executed. This is why every single step is handled by smart contracts. Obviously, it's not seen by the users. And for every single transaction on our platform, we have a token that unlocks the access to smart contracts.
And do I need to buy the property in crypto? Like, do I pay in Bitcoin or Ethereum, or can I pay in dollars?
You can do both. You can do any currency. We work with 40 currencies, fiat, and all the cryptocurrencies. We did transactions in Bitcoin, Ether.
What's the weirdest one?
Well, not the weirdest, but I love this first transaction that we did 2017, the first ever blockchain and a powered transaction.
What happened?
In Ether, and the buyer, Michael Arrington, bought
that
a
guy's
property.
Horrible. That Michael Arrington, what a bad
guy. He did a good transaction though.
No, Michael's great.
Yeah,
obviously.
I know, obviously. And
I tried to get him to come in deals with us. I say, hey man, let's go.
Yeah.
I know he's listening to this right now. He's probably laughing right now. All right, go ahead.
Absolutely. Regards. And
she said regards.
Well, sitting here in New York, exactly. And Michael being in so the transaction was fabulous in a sense that Ether were transferred to acquire property. Mm-hmm. In Ukraine, the seller was in New York, and the smart contract hold the funds till we get the data that the paperwork is in place and the signature with notary is approved and notary actually approved the transaction on the platform. And then once the ownership transfer happened, which we had the data on because of our governmental pilot, the smart contract released the funds to the seller and to other parties associated. So it actually disrupted the escrow function entirely. So that was the interesting part of the transaction back then, and this is what we're aiming here in the US, because the majority of our deals here are happening with wire transfers in dollars. It's like 99.9%, and we're aiming to do the escrow function with smart contract capability.
Got it. And so in that first transaction, Mike was sitting in California, the seller's sitting in New York, but the property's in Ukraine.
Yeah, that's correct.
It's pretty complex, but you guys can automate that.
All remotely, everything automated, everything is recorded, and there are hashes on smart contracts now. You can go to Etherscan, find the transaction, see the movement of money.
Yeah, it's pretty good. look out 20 years, what does this grow into, right? Like where are you kind of building towards?
Yeah. In 20 years, we're envision Proppy.com to be an international e-commerce platform where people are finding this property they want to see, to buy. They would see it and they would come and they would have an experience like on Amazon. They go through a number of clicks and they got the deed registered that right there on the platform. So very easy way to transfer money. You would put your bank account, if banks still exist in the way they exist today, and you would get your deed. No worries, no anxiety, enjoyable process, just like we love our iPhones. You would love actually the process of home buying because it's one of the most valuable assets in our lives.
Mm-hmm. And do you do fractional ownership, or is it just I own the property or I don't?
We had a number of requests, probably over 1 billion worth of requests. One day we just sat and counted them all from institutional players to tokenize their real estate. So we have great expertise on that, but we don't do that.
But you don't do it.
Yeah, we have
right. Will you potentially do it in the future?
Maybe.
Okay.
I mean, once we have this marketplace up and running for many countries and many buildings, then obviously why not to also offer, hey, invest $1,000 in this building, on that building, or in a resort.
Yeah, that makes sense. What are you seeing globally in real estate? So I want to talk a little bit about kind of the macro economy and real estate for a second, because real estate, similar to stocks, has just been going up, right? Yeah. Value keeps going. As we know, as students of history, that can't go on forever. Yeah. And so there's likely to be a market downturn at some point in the future.
It is happening already.
It's already happening. Explain that.
Silicon Valley, San Francisco market are all soft for over 15 months.
Really?
Yeah. It's been soft. Some markets are turning from seller market to buyer market. Dubai had a disaster in the last 2 years after even announcing the Expo 2020, and everyone was hoping that the market will outperform, but instead it had at least 40% down rate. So yeah, you are right. We're in this time when the real estate market is softening globally, but at the same time, there are so many emerging markets where the properties are underestimated, like Bulgaria, for example. It's still a very, very affordable market. And there are a number of countries where they just figured how to avoid fraud and make more efficient title registry. In fact, $9 trillion are unrecorded today, and it's a dead capital in real estate, which will come to the economy one day. And obviously, why you would invest in a property in Silicon Valley where the minimum check is $2 million, where you can invest in 200 countries with a couple thousand.
50 grand.
Yeah, exactly. And you know that they would appreciate.
For sure. One of the pieces that is interesting here in the U.S., so take New York, for example. I read that 50% of the construction since 2015 of high-rise condos, only 50% has been sold. So there's incredible amount of supply that has come online that there's just no demand for.
Really? I didn't know about that.
And one of the reasons why, in one of these articles I was reading, is because foreign investment has gone down.
Okay.
So basically, one of the things that you got to think about in terms of real estate for the people listening, you obviously know this, is we sit here and we say, hey, there's a lot of people who want to buy real estate.
Yeah.
And we said, let's go build real estate, right?
Yeah.
We're going to build high-rise condos.
Yeah.
That sounds like a great idea, today in January 2020, let's say.
Yeah.
Well, it takes us a year to build it or more, right?
Yeah.
18 months.
Yeah.
But by the time it gets done, now all of a sudden nobody wants to buy it, right? Like the demand's gone away.
Yeah.
And so that lag is actually pretty painful for real estate developers, and they're faced with, do they offload the inventory at below market prices and try to recoup something, or do they hold it, right?
And rent
kind of sit on it.
And sit on the cash
It's pretty
flow.
crazy to kind of see it happen.
Well, it's not happening in the Bay Area for sure, and in San Francisco, because there is still a huge lack of housing. Of course, affordable housing is the main asset the region lacks. But in terms of real estate development, this is what I was doing before. I see the interest and demand, and then my company would build a lot of inventory and we sell it. But then we saw the interest was softening, and we just stopped doing that. So in New York, because foreign investors are now had to pass through more KYC than I used to. It refers to Russian investors, Chinese investors, and of course the majority of local communities, they don't want the outsiders that don't occupy buildings. So some of the cities like Vancouver, for example, they actually introduced taxes for foreign investors.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, 15% tax on top of the property price, so that they encourage more the local community to occupy those buildings.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy how real estate is such a well-established game, right?
Yeah.
It's been around forever.
Yeah.
And people still make the same mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
People still make a lot of money off of it.
Yeah.
And there's the same cycles that you would see in real estate and every other market. Yeah. And it's kind of this, the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of the most outdated industries, but it's worth $280 trillion globally. So that's
huge. More than Bitcoin.
Yeah, a little bit more, right? Just a little bit.
For now.
Yeah, for now. But the reality is that the population is growing. Mm-hmm. We will need more inventory. We will need more homes. We will need more buildings. And yes, in some local regions, like here in New York, they might be, we reach some highest peaks in price. And this is now the market has to adjust. But in the majority of places, even though the market will soften, but we probably won't see any crashes.
Yeah, it's really interesting to think through, right? Because there's some counterintuitive components to it, but we'll see. What's the general environment right now as a founder in terms of fundraising mm-hmm. and kind of interest in crypto, et cetera? Like, you're doing this every day. What are you seeing there, and how are investors feeling about blockchain and crypto companies?
Yeah, so as a founder, obviously, I had to fundraise. I have to build a product. I have to sell. We're 30 people right now in the team. And when we talk to investors, it's very different now in comparison to 2018. In 2018, we probably were bombarded by emails from VCs every single week. From generalists, from top VCs, like, yeah, the blockchain is cool, and also you're applying it to a real industry. And now it seems like they all are afraid of the blockchain and related investments. But in every single VC that is not focused on the blockchain, they always have this young associate or young partner that is super excited about cryptocurrencies and blockchain. And they always try to push through the senior partner or investor to find a way still to be at least to research or to invest.
Do you think that changes in the short term, or do you think that it feels like this is going to be how the sentiment will be among venture capitalists for a while?
It's a hard question. Yeah, I'm not sure. Probably maybe 2-3 years it will be staying the same. But I see more and more VCs, traditional ones that are not focused on blockchain, have still blockchain-related companies in their portfolio, and they start to perform. They start to have exits, acquisitions, so they tend to prove themselves as very valuable businesses.
Yeah, so it's kind of like if they see success in the investments they've already made, they'll get more excited and kind of pour capital. I think it makes sense.
Yeah, especially those that are now that have invested in Ripple, in Coinbase, and now they became giant companies. Obviously, they tend to be those that can attract more LPs and more investments. The same with venture capital and early stage startups.
You mentioned Ripple. Has anybody bought a house or property with XRP yet?
We had a number of sellers listing in XRP in 2018. But then we didn't have any sales, unfortunately.
No sales?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Brad would have been excited.
I know. I think he actually retweeted one of those listings. But at that point, the majority of people felt that they had to hold and wait the market to recover, which never happened.
Yeah.
Till now.
Well, we'll see what happens.
We'll see, right? We're believers.
Absolutely. What's the one lesson that you've learned building Proppy? Like right now.
Just one?
Just at this point in time, what's the one big takeaway that you have so far that maybe when you went into building the business you didn't know or think about, but now you're like, oh, this is what I've learned?
As a founder, right?
Yeah, of course.
Blockchain space?
No, just company building.
Probably be ready to learn every single week. Very often we would discover something like, hey, that's the path to go. And we would stick to it for 2, 3, 4 months. And then we would realize, oh no, that's a mistake. So every single week to be learning, reading, and asking successful people in your field that have already proved for their mentorship. That was because we did a lot of mistakes, obviously, as every startup. We did many, many successes. We did all those historical transactions. We proved to the world that blockchain can work for a real industry, for a real case. But just never stop learning. And there are so many amazing books. Just asking on Twitter, like following you and seeing what articles people are reading and liking. This is helpful as well.
It's one of my favorite things I do because people actually find really high quality articles. Yeah, like I tweeted it, I don't know, one Saturday and tweeted it again, and I genuinely was interested. Like, what are people, reading? So I could kind of be lazy and just have them send me stuff. And then it was so valuable that I just kept doing it. And now I'm like,
then it became a routine, right?
Yeah, this is amazing.
Yeah, and we follow that.
I can't believe all these smart people are actually sending me stuff to read. But what okay, so being willing to learn something new every week, do you do anything from like a habit standpoint that you do intentionally for learning?
Yeah. We just discussed it now with your colleague that
Joe's sitting in the corner. Joe's got a new desk. He's fucking balling over in the corner.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah, and he updated me with your fantastic metrics that you're doing so great with the podcast. Like,
don't tell anybody that we have 10 million downloads a month. Come on, don't share that.
So congrats.
I wish you guys could see Joe's face. Joe's bright red and he's dying laughing because it's really 12 million downloads a month. All right, go ahead.
That's a great asset, actually. I think you guys are a great team. Back to routine.
Joe's just trying to sell ads. That's all. All right. So great team.
Yeah, absolutely. Great team. Congrats on that. And your previous podcast was fantastic as well. This book.
Kamal. We're recording this right after we just recorded with Kamal Ravikant, the author of Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty good title. You like those kind of books, right?
Absolutely. And this is what I got into my schedule of learnings. A lot of business books.
Okay.
And a lot of psychological books on how to be more effective and productive and how to make my family, especially my teenage daughter, how to communicate with her better in more effective way, because I can learn a lot from experiencing the daily life. but sometimes you just read a book and know how to deal with the specific situation. So my habit is whenever I go to gym, I have this 1 hour to listen to a podcast, and I have this queue of those items that I want to hear, as well as when I go to massage, which I also have a routine on. Also, I have a podcast, and I consider those hours as like work hours because learning for something specific I need in my business today. So during the day, it's always something specific I need to learn today to make my company better.
What's the best business book you've recently read? What will be a recommendation?
This one I love it. From Impossible to Inevitable by Aaron Ross and Jason Lemkin. It's on SaaS.
From Impossible to Inevitable.
Yes.
Okay.
Or the book Aaron Ross published previously. It's a Bible for B2B sales, predictive revenue. These are books that are phenomenal for B2B sales. And for sales in general, how to practically do it, how to build the team or how to rebuild, restructure some tactics. Then I really love the book Negotiate by Chris Vox by the FBI. Negotiator.
How to negotiate.
Yeah.
But that's not what it's
Never
called.
Split the Difference.
Never Split the Difference. Chris Voss, the former FBI negotiator.
Yes, that's correct. That was also fantastic. Then the CEO Within, a recent one by a CEO coach. Again, very practical on how to be an effective SEO, how to build OKRs, KPIs, how to score your team yourself. So those items are very, very helpful.
What about the psychological books?
Yeah, the one I recently loved is The Courage to Be Disliked, then the Nonviolence Communication.
So nonviolent communication and The Courage to Be Disliked.
Yeah, those I really like. Normally, like those motivational speakers like Tony Robbins and so on, they don't very much relate to me because they empower you to act, execute, and go and do something. And I have an opposite problem. I want everything to execute. I have tons of ideas.
You need somebody to tell you stop, breathe, slow down.
Yeah, exactly. Like stop, focus on one thing. Do just one thing at a time.
If you don't want to pay Tony Robbins $20,000 to tell you to go act, you could pay me $20,000. I'll tell you stop, breathe, chill out.
I will next time.
And then what is it like raising your daughter, who, as you said, is a teenage daughter in today's society with TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Tinder, whatever other things she can have on her phone. Like what is that like as a parent?
It's tough. It's always negotiating, and this book, Never Split the Difference, helps.
What are you negotiating with her over?
Yeah.
How old is she?
She's 13. She just turned 13. Okay. She has never been into Instagram, social media just yet, but I feel she's turning into that. And she's very much into iPad, watching YouTube videos. Till now, they were more like, doing some stuff, crafts. So I was kind of, it's not that bad. But then very often she would not do her routine stuff. She's really great in homework. When we moved to the US, she was actually very self-independent, 9 years old, but she would go to the school all alone. She would wake up herself. She would make pasta for herself. So we just had to survive and be self-efficient because I couldn't afford nannies or something like that. And but then now this iPad and always being on screen, it's very, very hard to find a balance.
What does she watch on YouTube now?
I wish she was just watching your podcast, but no.
Our podcast gets 50,000 downloads a day on YouTube too. No worries.
Yeah, I'm trying to get her into crypto. We're talking very often about Bitcoin. She knows that you can buy a house with a token. Yeah, she knows that stuff already. But she's just watching some teenage series plus
like the influencer stuff and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that stuff. And then like doing slimes. So also those childish stuff like toys, unwrapping. clothing, and then what to wear.
Yeah. It's crazy to me. I obviously don't have any kids, although Polina would tell you I am a kid. But the rise of the devices, the connected devices, the social media, etc. I remember as a kid, like my mom and dad had a pretty good idea what I was doing, right? Like, I see what you're watching on television. I know what video games you're playing. Like the things that were going into my head, the content, they pretty much knew.
Yeah.
I feel like parents don't know that anymore.
Yeah, right
Or
now
at least they have
scary.
a harder time knowing what their kids are doing.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which could be good or bad, right? Look, you got a kid that wants to learn and stuff.
Age, they just need to know that they have borders, because sometimes with internet, they feel they can do whatever they want, but
they can do whatever they want. You don't want them to.
Yeah. But there are many apps with like parent control, but it's an additional work for a parent. Okay, you have again those apps you have to control, see what's going on. But I agree with you. Just paying attention and look what they're excited about. That helps to understand where their minds are into. But yeah, our childhood was easy, and we had like, the TV channel with a program. You have 15 minutes cartoons and Saturday movie.
Well, the conspiracy theorists would say that the state was programming people, right? They're like, we're going to tell you what you're going to watch.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. And you're like looking forward. Okay, it's on your schedule.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you're bored between this time. In our childhood, we were very bored what to do in between. So we were very creative and loving nature, exploring what's happening outside.
Kids don't go outside. Come on. The only thing they know about the forest is they saw it on their iPad.
Yeah, exactly. YouTube scenes.
I got a 23-year-old brother who was in New York City, no joke, for 2 weeks doing an internship. He was 2 weeks into his summer internship. This was 2 years ago. And we had to go to St. Louis. My brother was getting married. Not him, but another one. Yeah. And so when we get there, the entire like bridal party, whatever, went golfing, all the guys. And we're out on the golf course, and I hear my 23-year-old brother, who's been in New York City for legitimately 2 weeks, hit everyone with, man, so great to see like trees and stuff.
Oh my God.
And we all looked at him like, shut the hell up.
How about Central Park at least?
You've been there for 2 weeks.
Yeah, actually, I think that's my main challenge, because I love to rest in nature, go in parks and hikes, and it's very hard to get out my family from the house and do that. And it's very hard for me to actually make her love nature and explore, like, but we made it as a habit now. So she knows that she just has to do it because it's a family tradition now.
That's a good way to get her to do it, right? It's family tradition. All right. So before I get into rapid fire questions, I feel like for people to be a user of Proppy, they've got to understand real estate. And most people will do that on their own, right? They'll go figure out how to learn about real estate. Hey, I want to buy property, whatever. But one of the things that strikes me is I've got to know about other countries' real estate, right? So I understand the US or, New York City or San Francisco, whatever. I can find that stuff out. I can talk to people who live there, whatever. How do you suggest people learn about other countries' real estate markets? So Ukraine, Bulgaria, whatever. If I don't go there, how do I actually get a good sense for what's going on in that market?
I think that what will happen in 20 years with Proppy or with another competitor. This what will happen.
With Proppy, come on.
Of course.
There's no competitors.
The world will come to a one platform that they have trust to it, like an Amazon, we have the trust that the good will be delivered. Then there will be one platform where you will be able to trust that the value of a certain property in Bulgaria or London is the one that should be. And the property is actually physically there, because what happens in other countries, they don't have MLS systems, they don't have National Association of Realtors at all. And there are just many, many frauds. Agents, very often they are fragile and they're not licensed. So there are a lot of scams happening, and you wouldn't want to risk and buy a property this way. So now okay, maybe I want to buy a property in Sofia for like, I don't know, $30,000, which is nothing, but it will appreciate potentially. And then you have to go there, you have to invest time. With a platform in the future, you would just trust the system. You would read what's going on with the country, with economical and political situation. You will trust the valuation because it will be based on data. So this is how I envision that the world will be more, in real estate, will be more open, transparent, and maybe even a little bit homogenic. Because right now we have so many differences, but maybe at some point we'll come to a more homogenic market.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to think about how much real estate has changed, yet how fragmented the knowledge is.
Yeah, right? Very fragmented. Yeah, and the process is very full of frictions. Yeah.
What do you think the most important company in crypto is, other than Proppy?
In crypto, company, not protocol.
You can name a protocol.
Well, I'm the believer in Bitcoin, and
great answer.
Of course, the Bitcoin standard, right? I just respect all the teams that are working on the protocols. Algorand, Near, Ethereum. We're developing Ethereum, so we see a lot of negative parts as well. But I think, the main thing now is to have the real adoption. This is what we are aiming to have those enterprise, and we have the support of US institutional partners already. Then when we provide the value, when we see finally that blockchain brings the trust and change to the industry like real estate, then we need all those protocols, the underlying technology, the first level layer and the second layer. And so it's amazing that those teams are working on developing them, even though still there are no real volume happening on those networks.
Makes sense. What's the one regulation or law that you would change or improve if you could?
Of course, this one. We all want the SEC to a little bit allow us innovators finally work and innovate. Yeah, so definitely just, the securities laws.
And just revamp them.
Yeah. Yeah, makes absolutely. Sense. From 30s, finally, make it to our century and, rewrite them. What
about aliens? Believer? Non-believer?
There is something there.
You think so?
Yeah, I totally believe there is something
there. You're saying
there.
Like you know. Like you've seen an alien before.
I'm Russian. Well, actually, yeah. Once I saw something unbelievable in my childhood, and I don't know what was that in Russia, yeah.
What did you see?
Something happened in the sky, but I'm not sure what was that.
What, it was like lights or what?
A lot of lights, different colors. There were some speculations that there were some experiments with some rockets nearby in the near city. But I was born in a nuclear power plant serving city. So we were only 25,000 people in the city, only engineers. And it's a small town to see such a thing, random thing. But I don't know about aliens. Maybe not aliens, but there is something there in the universe.
Oh, there's definitely aliens. Come on. Just so I can put it on the record, I read yesterday that there's a star that is close to the sun, and previously that star, there was a planet revolving around it, right? That's been known since 2016. Big deal. There is now speculation and confirmation there's a second planet revolving around that star. And so I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
It's in the
Hollywood just
habitable or habitable area, right? I said that word really funny. That's fine.
Yeah.
Habitable type planet.
Yeah.
Second one, all revolving around the star. And so, of course, I tweet it, right? Because, I basically have only two types of friends on the internet, people who like crypto or people who like aliens. And immediately people start tweeting back at me that it's 4 light years away. I don't even know what that means. That's far as shit, though.
Yeah.
Right? And they still think that 4 light years away could be a planet in which life could exist.
Oh, wow.
Can't get to it, but we can somehow see it, I guess.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. This is scary to me.
When you were in school in Russia, how many planets did they tell you there were? In America, they told us 9. They tell you guys 9, or they tell you more?
Yeah, in the sun system.
Yeah.
9
planets.
Yeah. And now suddenly there are
over 1,000.
Yeah.
I don't know where the other 991 of them came from. But it's pretty crazy to think about in terms of, you're dealing with space and property here on Earth.
Yeah,
there's a whole solar system out there.
Yeah, there is a whole universe there. We're such a small planet, but also it's fascinating how we're built as humans, how our system is self-sufficient. We have this intelligence. We're building the artificial intelligence.
Some of us have intelligence. I've seen some people on the internet that are a little shaky on that.
I've seen them.
You've seen them too?
Yeah. In our community, I've seen those too.
All right. Well, what question do you have for me to wrap this up?
The one question I would have is, what is the kind of a founder you believe in to succeed, like generally? Simple.
They don't give up. That's it. I'm a big believer that building a company is really fucking hard. And if you want to put yourself through that pain, you have to have one very important quality, and it's that you will literally take every punch right on the chin. Like, you don't care. You're not going to give up. And if you can have that mentality, you got a shot. Not guaranteed to succeed, but you're at least in a position where you can be successful. And you got to have a lot of things go right. You got to find the right people, got to build the right product. All that stuff's got to happen.
Yeah.
But if you don't have that quality, you're dead in the water. There's no way you can build a company.
How do you evaluate one founder if they have that quality or not?
I don't know if you can necessarily evaluate it as much as you're looking for other things in their life that they've gone through that are hard that they didn't give up on. Right. And so like, it's kind of this belief. I call it the warrior theory. I've never actually shared this before. So the warrior theory is basically, if you take somebody who joins a warrior culture, whether it's, a developed nation's army or some kind of, crazy, wild, unsophisticated thing. Warrior theory is that if you put a warrior in that situation, whether it's their first day or their last day, they are predisposed to being successful. But the difference between the person who is their first day versus the last day is the warrior who it's their last day or they've been through a lot. They're literally war hardened, right? They've been through it. Like they have mental armor. They are ready to handle anything because they have seen themselves perform over and over and over again in combat.
Yeah.
The person who's their first day, they believe that they have it, but they've never proven it to themselves.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't mean, hey, you got to go start a bunch of companies or anything like that. It just means somebody who's been through a lot of hard things in their life immediately is better positioned to handle the next hard thing because they themselves know, I've been through a lot of shit. Right. Yeah. And so I think that that's something that, and
are you normally born as a warrior, or you can educate yourself?
I think that people who are not warriors are just warriors that haven't been trained yet.
Yeah.
Meaning that it's all mindset.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, it sounds stupid and super cliche, whatever. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's not what happens to you. It's what you do about it. Right. Yeah. And so like, entrepreneurs are better than anybody. Like, there's the shit entrepreneurs deal with on a daily basis. People that don't go through it have no clue. Yeah. Like literally you can wake up, server basically melted down. Fuck. Right. Okay. No, press came out. Look, we're so great. Yeah. Oh, wait. Somebody on Twitter screaming at us because, they lost their login or whatever. Yeah. Oh, we just got nominated for an award. Okay, it's lunchtime.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And
you just woke
we got
up.
the rest of the day left. Like, so it's just this crazy up and down all day long. And it's kind of, you got to get comfortable in that type of environment. You have to have the resilience, for that. And what are the 3 tips, short, for those that are not waking up warriors but would love to be? Go do some hard shit. There's no 3. It's just one tip. Just go do hard shit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's different for everybody, right? Some people, they need to do physically hard stuff, right? Go work out, go on a hike, all kinds of that kind of stuff. There's other people who need to put themselves in mentally hard positions, meaning that they're very comfortable and they don't ever step out of that comfort zone. And so therefore they get
like to go to podcast.
Yeah, do
Pomp.
a podcast. If you're scared of doing a podcast, you should go do a podcast, right? If you're scared of, I don't know, fucking walking in Grand Central because you're claustrophobic and there's too many people,
just go there.
Fucking sit in Grand Central for an hour, right? Like whatever the thing is that you fear, a lot of times I think the best thing to do is just do it.
Yeah,
and
totally agree.
The over-exaggerated example is like the parent who says, hey, my kid doesn't know how to swim. Throw him in the pool. Yeah. Like, now I'm standing there, I'm going to make sure it doesn't drown, right?
Yeah.
But like, that's one of the fastest ways to figure out like, how do you paddle?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
How do you swim? So I think like that stuff generally in life is important. The other thing is go talk to people who've been through it, right? And so like do hard shit and then talk to other people who've done hard shit.
Yeah.
And if you start to surround yourself with like people with that warrior mindset, all of a sudden you're just like, this is what's expected.
You have the mindset, you're empowered.
Yeah, it's look, one of the greatest things that happened to me in my life is I grew up in a family of 5 boys.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Why?
Yeah, I heard about that.
Because you can't be soft. Like you just couldn't be. Literally, if everyone wanted to do something and you didn't want to do it because you were scared or nervous or, it was hard or whatever, the other 4 not only did it and you didn't, so you felt left out, but they made fun of you while they were doing it. Right? Yeah. So eventually you just realize like, all right, well, might as well go do this. So look, you've been through all kinds of stuff in your life, right? Like you're a Russian influencer, you lived in Bulgaria, came to the US, didn't really know anybody. Like all of those things are data points in a story that like people go through hard shit in life. And if they are successful in overcoming those obstacles, they're likely to keep doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Agree with you.
Look, every immigrant does, right? Because they've all lived it. And it's like Polina and I talk about it all the time. It's just like there is something about people who, especially immigrants who come to the United States when they don't know anybody. Yeah.
And especially from a post-communism country, you just are born to be resilient. And if you're already here, you relocated yourself, that's a very, very good sign that you go through hardships. You got here, so you're a fighter. And very often, I got those questions, especially female entrepreneurs, on how to move forward when you don't know anybody, how to move forward if you have a kid. So I totally agree with you, Pomp, here that, just do the hard thing and go out of the zone of comfort. Like I, for example, had a fear of public speaking before when I just moved here. I very much feared my accent, the lack of English fluency. You see, now again, I'm making the mistake. But just going there out of the zone of comfort, and then you become an expert in that. And even you have fans and you influence people's life. And so you start enjoying something that you used to fear.
Yeah, it's practice.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like how I always am shocked by people who believe that you're going to be good at something and you never practiced it. Right? I literally have never met anybody who's just naturally like the best at something. They might be good at it. They might be predisposed to be good at something, right? They might have certain talents that make them good at something, but they're never the best. And so if you want to be the best, go fucking practice.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. I'm getting off my soapbox. Where can people find Proppy? Proppy.com?
Proppy.com. Yeah.
All right. What's the Twitter handle?
At Propy Inc.
At Propy Inc. And what's your Twitter handle?
At Natalia Proppy.
All right. At Natalia Proppy.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for doing this.
Absolutely. Thank you. I enjoyed it very much.
Long Proppy, short all the soft people in the world.
Yeah.